So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school. Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places.
So I've thought a lot about what I miss the most during this pandemic. And the thing that I miss the most is you.
I love playing to a live audience. There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like feeling the love that you guys give to us and we're trying to give to you. And I just can't wait to get back to that.
All these places that we stand in, the Ryman, Opry House, those places are just places if you don't put the people in them.
The COVID-19 vaccines are going to help us all get back to the moments we miss.
It's totally normal to have questions. I did too. That's why it's so important to get informed.
There's a lot of talk out there about the vaccines. So ask your doctor and get the facts.
I'll be seeing you.
It's up to you.
I do like that, since we can't put on the moon. It's a good place to put the skateboard. Can't do.
th, 2021 Select Board meeting. We start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is, excuse me, this is Select Board Chair Mark Strange. I'll be confirming that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Steve Morantz.
Here.
Josh Levine.
Here.
Mark Gold.
Here.
Tom Lacusa.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mike Barbieri.
Here.
Lynn Simmons is absent tonight. This open meeting of Long Meadow Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. This meeting is convening by Zoom webinar as posted on the agenda and town's website, identifying how the public may join. There is no chat or Q&A function. All of the materials for this meeting are available on the agenda posted on longmeadow.org. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. This meeting will feature resident comment. For resident comment, using the Zoom webinar format, members of the public are attendees. If a member of the public would like to speak during resident comment, please use the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen. The meeting moderator will promote you to panelist, unmute you, and give you permission to speak. If you join the webinar by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute/unmute. Residents who wish to speak will identify their names and addresses only. Each individual is afforded 3 minutes for comments. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Excuse me. Okay, first agenda item tonight are select board announcements. First of all, this first responder night was a great success. We want to thank everyone who made the event possible. A huge thanks to the first responders for their amazing service to the community. We're extremely fortunate to have these devoted individuals working in our town. Amen. Also, thank you to everyone who donated to help out the Longmeadow Food Bank. We look forward to seeing this event take place again in the near future. Citizen petition articles for the fall special town meeting are due in the Select Board's office no later than noon on September 17th, 2021. In order for a petition to be guaranteed placement on the special town meeting warrant, 100 names, signatures, and addresses of registered town voters are required and must be certified by the town clerk. Forms and instructions to be used for petition articles are available on the homepage of longmeadow.org and also on the Select Board's page. Petition articles will be printed in the warrant verbatim, so citizens are asked to review the forms and instructions carefully. You can view the full article submission memo and warrant schedule on the newsflash of the homepage. Please contact the Select Board's office or email adminassistant@longmeadow.org if you have any questions. Our planning board vacancy. We're still accepting applications to fill the planning board vacancy. Any Longmeadow resident interested in being considered for the appointment is required to submit an application, cover letter, and a resume to the Select Board's office at Town Hall by Tuesday, August 31st. Applications are available on the boards and commissions page of the town website. The appointment will be for a term ending in June 2022, which is the next annual town election. The planning board operates under the provisions of Mass General Laws 40A and 41 and has a responsibility to guide the development of the town in the best interests of all its residents. The board has very specific responsibilities and authorities as granted by the Mass General Laws and the zoning bylaws of the town of Agawam. Applicants will be required to attend an interview conducted jointly by the Select Board and the Planning Board on Tuesday, September 7th at 7 p.m. here at Longmeadow High School. And finally, KRT Appraisal will have 2 data collectors in Longmeadow this month. They will be in the area for several weeks to complete building permit and cyclical inspections. If you have any questions, please contact the Assessor's Office, 413-565-4115.
Mark, we assume you meant the town of Longmeadow in the planning board.
Did I say Town of Agawam?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Of course I have it. Okay, next agenda item, board and committee appointments.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Benjamin Tansky to the Cable Advisory Committee for a 1-year associate's position ending June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Strange?
Yes.
Mr. Morantz?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Mr. Gold?
Yes.
Mr. Lucusa?
Yes.
Mark, I don't think we need to do a roll call if we're all in person. Roll call is for remote, is required by remote, but we're here just to show of hands or a voice vote, I believe. now the minutes need to indicate, the vote was 4-1 and who voted against it, if somebody voted against, or how the votes were, but we're just move us along, but
Yeah.
I don't think we need a roll call
Right.
vote in person.
Yeah, that's correct.
Seems to work, though.
It works, it's just, you can say how.
We could break it down if it doesn't seem unanimous.
Yeah.
Right.
So you want to do a show of hands instead of a roll call?
You can do whatever you want,
That's
you're the
fine.
chair.
That's fine. Thought we were rolling with it, though.
Fine, all right. I'll make a motion that we appoint Mary Beth Bergeron to the position of the Council on Aging Board of Directors for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Easy breezy.
It did save seconds off.
It did. I
We'll
stand
be out of here by...
correct. Do we have any resident comments this evening?
Range. My name is James Turtelot. I live at 64 Prinwood Road in Long Meadow, and I'd like to use 3 minutes of your time, if I may.
Please.
There are 2 items that have occurred to me recently that the town hasn't really thought much about and might be able to do something about. They're in the area of clean energy and resilience. As to clean energy, recently, say in the last year, heat pumps have begun to be reported fairly widely in the press. Although I don't think most people think much about using a heat pump, they're accustomed to what they have. I think it's important that we as residents begin to think seriously about heat pumps, not only in our own homes, but also in the town. I don't believe that any of our town buildings have been surveyed for the possibility of using heat pump technology. Heat pumps basically not only heat, they also air condition. They also do it more efficiently and for less expense than ordinary fossil fuel energy. So, as America and hopefully Massachusetts, perhaps leading the way, go forward with an effort to electrify all forms of energy, a heat pump would be an excellent place for us to start in anticipation of that. The heat pump technology itself is well known, and heat pumps are available and being commercially used in homes. For buildings, I think they would make a great deal of sense, since most public buildings are heated by older plants. In addition, the Commonwealth has been granting, although we talk about the Green Development Department of the grant program in Massachusetts, and the money looks really good, but I understand that from time to time it doesn't come through. Nevertheless, it's worth our looking into. So it seems to me that folks should be aware and look to our town government in regard to refitting some of these older systems and doing it with money that may be available as a matter of green community grant. We are a green community. We received, I think, about $155,000 as a result of a 2013 grant. More recently, Chester, Massachusetts received $133,000 in 2020, for a large part of which was for heat pump planning and implementation. Ashburnham in Massachusetts also received in this year a large grant, about $47,000. So it looks to me as though we could get some of that money here if we looked carefully at those buildings. Now, the ship sailed on the new DPW building and on the senior center. I don't think those were considered for heat pump. But in the future, if we're constructing something, I think we should make it a point to do that. And one more point in terms of resilience. As you know, Long Meadow is no stranger to sudden windstorms, sudden thunderstorms, and last week we had one that brought down the lines on Shaker Road between the golf course parts. That's always an accident of that kind waiting to happen. This isn't the first time in the last 3 years, maybe it's the fourth time. Those old trees overhang the lines. The lines are themselves could probably be placed a little differently. And if one of those lines goes down, even a little short stretch, it means several hundred residents without electricity. That all came about because of a very violent, sudden wind associated with that intense thunderstorm. And we know climate change means more heat here and storms of greater intensity, often wetter. So I think that the town should look at some of the tree work that could be done to make us more resilient in cases of those kinds of storms. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so just following up on Jim's comments, I know the assistant town manager is poised to start soon, and she certainly has an expertise in those grant programs, and there's money out there to be had, certainly for Long Meadow. So I think future is bright in terms of securing grant funding through the Green Communities Program and through the MVP program. So thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody online?
No. No one online.
Select board comments?
Thank you. Last week I attended the Zoom meeting and presentation by the Skateboard Sighting Committee. And for those people who aren't on social media, the response has been, I guess, swift and intense on social media. And I wanted to address some of those comments in the select board comments section, only because I think we need to, or at least I'd like to better explain why and how that happened. Because the comments we got was the select board ought to, or town officials should have. And the fact is that what's gone on so far with this skateboard sighting group has been done in accordance with our bylaws through a citizen's petition that went to the Community Preservation Committee, who recommended approval of a study, which is all that's been done, and that recommendation was approved and funded by a vote of town meeting. The comments online have been essentially, it's not consistent with our open space meeting plan. It's not consistent with town plans, and that may in fact be the case. But the comments that said it shouldn't have been allowed to happen because it's not consistent with open space meeting plan is not something that we or the town officials can do. It was approved, it was funded by a town meeting vote, and it's moved forward. For people who believe that it's not consistent with the open space meeting plan or otherwise have concerns, they need to show up at a future town meeting when I'm sure this issue will come up again, either for funding or for approval of the final site. At this point, it was a group of individuals funded through a community preservation grant who've done all the work. We did have our Director of Parks and Recreation doing some liaison work just to make sure that they did follow whatever processes and procedures we did have in line. But I just want to make it clear that for those who think the town should have, could have, or might have, or town officials could have, should have, or might have done something differently. The answer is that's not the process that's been used, and you know, where it goes from here still remains up to the residents of the town, and I assume it will come to a town meeting. So I want to make that clear, and I thank everybody for their attention.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any other, yeah. Tom?
Yeah, just to follow on Mark's comments, you know, I looked at some of the information, and, you know, they said, well, you know, the majority of residents may not want a skateboard park, and, well, yeah, the young people in this town are not the majority of residents. We know that. But if people will recall back to the town meeting, the younger people who came and spoke did a really nice job of convincing people who were there. And it was, most people didn't think that it was going to pass, that they would get approval for that. It was pulled out as a separate item. You know, when I looked at the preliminary plans, you know, the first thing that struck me was looking at you putting on a clay tennis court in Bliss Park. Clay is the preferred topping for people who, as you get older, it's a lot easier on your knees, and so so a lot of people prefer being on clay courts. I guess my first reaction was we should probably look at, and I'm sure the recreation department will do this, but Barry should look at how much use gets, you know, how many people are playing tennis on the clay courts. I know that we have them fixed up every year because there's, you know, those are kind of hard to find. But I did go to visit a skateboard park this summer in Wellfleet, Mass, and I was very impressed with how it worked, and there were a lot of young people surprised. I was surprised with kids on these small bicycles that didn't even have pedals, you know, kind of riding around, and it looked like a lot of people were having fun. I don't know where this thing's going to end up, but I know the last time something was tried to be put into Bliss Park, it was moved basically to the border of Enfield. And so it moved from a central location to Enfield, pretty much, and it looks like it's going to happen again.
Thank you.
Last comment on the skateboard thing that's going to happen to this town one way or the other, but I have to reiterate what Mr. Gold said, is because of the form of government we have, open town meeting is the decider of these issues. And as long as we have that form of government, these are the kind of decisions that can and could or may be made. At that same town meeting, was voted down to go for $25 to raise that limit. So we're not going to increase our tax base, but we'll take a look at a skateboard. So anyway, that's the form of government we have. And it will be the form of government until we decide to change it. I want to go back to something that was mentioned last week with when Mary Beth Bergeron was here and the building committee, which also actually will eventually tie in a little bit with Jim. But when she mentioned the parking lot in particular, that her report was basically, it seemed to me that the subcontractor committed fraud, saying we got one thing and we're going to give you another. So one, I want to know if criminal charges should be pursued by the town, and B, if for any reason, if because of this parking lot situation, the adult center is now going to be, the opening's going to be more delayed, I think we should go for damages, both in terms of, there's pain and suffering, but these people want this thing open. So I think this, I don't think we should just let it drop. I mean, I know that Josh, you mentioned that these people are going to be paid, but this is fairly serious. If they say we're going to use one material and then give us another material, that's pretty sad, and sounds illegal to me. And in terms of this building, in terms of what the buildings and what Jim said about the heat pumps, and I find it very disappointing that no alternative energy concepts were put into these buildings when they were built, but that does not mean they cannot be, even though it's very early in the game, to be retrofitted, particularly the DPW building. The Energy and Sustainability Committee has been looking at solar for that building, which is totally capable of accepting it. And it's a gigantic roof, as we all know, since we've been there. And that could produce a whole bunch of electricity for the building and conceivably for other buildings in town, at least to offset what they use. But if that's the case, then using electric heat pumps for cooling and heating would be a major savings to the town and would certainly be an environmentally correct thing should the building be able to go solar. So I think the whole heat pump thing, and in terms of residential, it's, yeah, we have a heat pump, and for us, it's a great, it does heat and cool. So I think we need to look more at it, and hopefully we will be able to. Thanks.
If I could, I just want to respond a little bit to Steve. I went to the building committee meeting that was actually held at the adult center, where they discussed the issues of the adult center. So I just wanted to bring you up to date, kind of since the last meeting. There have been demand letters to the general contractor, and people need to be aware that the town works through our general contractor, Montfort Incorporated. You know, even though we believe it's a subcontractor who was at fault for having done this. We also have we understand that the samples that were given to us as being representative of what would go on the parking lot pavement was not what was used. So there was one system was approved and a separate system was used, and I'll leave it at that. There was a second issue, if people recall, about the landscaping and the grounds and the dirt and things like that. So the general contractor has agreed that work will be redone. So that work with pulling up whatever is bad in the landscaping and putting down proper type of loam and grass seed is going to proceed. Obviously, it's not going to be done now. It's a lousy time to plant, but that is going to be moving along. And I believe they have that as an agreement. And the contractor had not yet formally, this is as of last week, he may have, in the last, well, it would have been Friday or today, responded to our group, which is Mary Beth Bergeron and our OPM and our, and other people at the team about what they plan on doing with the parking lot. But I think I can speak for the building committee and ideally for the town by assuring people here that this will not be allowed to be delayed in long term, that the town believes they have remedies that can move this along rather quickly, not a remedy necessarily that the contractor would like, but something that we could do, and we have enough documented evidence of the issues that we believe we would prevail when that moves to some kind of a judicial resolution of the town moving forward. I will say that I walked through the parking lot as part of that meeting. You know, you look at the aggregate and say, yeah, it doesn't look right. But what really gets you is the pavement is paved in strips, and one strip's here and another strip's here, and the lines don't line up, and there's all kinds of issues with the parking lot that need to be redone. I mean, the biggest thing is the walkways aren't straight and all that kind of stuff. So I would like to think that this is going to be resolved, because we spoke about it specifically at the building committee meeting. It's going to be resolved in the month of August, which doesn't mean it'll be fixed in the month of August, but it'll be fixed shortly after that, in my opinion, based on where they're going. So I hope that at least lets people at home know that this isn't going to drag on, weeks and weeks and weeks. We know that, for example, the facility, and it's either Palmer Paving or somebody else who makes the Amosite for parking lot. They generally close November 1st. So this is going to be redone before November 1st, in my opinion, one way or the other, because that's really if you don't do it by November 1st, you don't get to do it till next spring.
Thank you.
If I could just make a general comment on, I know the Board of Health is meeting tonight, and we are, unfortunately, we got a lot of other stuff going on, but we're still in a pandemic. We're lucky to be in a very vaccinated town, but we're starting to see the cases tick up, and the kids are going back to school in a couple weeks, and I just want to urge everyone in town to keep our fellow residents safe and get vaccinated. We have very high numbers, but we got to close the gap, and we got to protect our kids now that they're going back, I'm glad they're going back, and we're very lucky to going back full-time. It's a very different situation than last year, but we got to keep our eyes on the prize. So I hope we continue to follow the science and do what's right and do everything we can to protect our most vulnerable.
Amen. Thank you. Mike, can you put just a reminder about this, the adult center for a potential update on the 7th? If there's something that comes, some new information we get between now and then. Okay, any other select board comments? Okay, so town manager's report. Lynn had asked me to hit on the highlights of our town manager's report. COVID-19 update. At the time this memo was written, there were 21 cases in town. With the increase in cases lately, the town brought back the COVID-19 coordinator, who was previously on staff. Additionally, the town has hired a full-time public health nurse who will be joining the town at the end of the month. The Board of Health is holding a meeting this evening, as Josh alluded to discuss things like mask mandates and the like. In Lynn's report, there is a snapshot of our town vaccination data, and I think it's a little bit too expansive to go through now, but it's in the this document is attached as a link to the tonight's agenda, so if anyone wants to take a look at it, please feel free to go on our website under select board meetings and tonight's meeting and click on the link. There's an open meeting law training. Town board and committee open meeting law training has been scheduled for Wednesday, September 29th from 1 to 2:30 and Thursday, September 30th from 6 to 7:30. A representative from each board or committee will be asked to attend, as well as any staff that are responsible for posting meetings and taking minutes. The town's attorney, Jesse Belcher-Timmy, will be doing the training. Topics include meeting agendas, minutes, posting requirements, and executive session. An email will be sent to all boards and committees once the location is confirmed. DPW 21E lawsuit and eminent domain lawsuit. Interrogatories on behalf of the town were signed on Friday, July 30th. The discovery phase continues. Lynn is awaiting an update on the eminent domain matter, and as soon as she has it, she will pass it along to us. Some staffing updates. An organizational structure change has been implemented at the Adult Center in anticipation of the new facility. An assistant director position has been created, which absorbed the duties of the program coordinator with added responsibilities of overseeing the day-to-day operation of the new center. Lindsay Gill will remain in town in this new role. Congrats, Lindsay. Critical positions for the Eastern Hampden Shared Health Services Group are close to being filled, which is a public health nurse and a health inspector. Excuse me, and a new clerk at the DPW will start on August 23rd to replace one of the two admins that were vacant. And last but not least, we already talked about this a little bit. Skate Park Stakeholder meeting was held virtually on August 10th at 7 p.m. Pillar Design gave a presentation that's now available on the town website. Another public meeting will be held in mid-September. The quick background of this, again, echoing Mark's words, the funding for this study was via a citizen group submitting an application for the Community Preservation Committee in 2019, and the CPC approved the application to fund a study, and the project was included in the annual town meeting warrant in June 2020, where it was approved by voters. I'd ask for questions, but I won't be able to answer them.
Mark, I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
I just want to recognize in our report from the police department that there were 4 officers from Longmeadow, Matthew Chapin, Amanda Van Bursbeek, Brandon Mahoney, and Paul Berry, who were recognized. They're giving letters of commendation for their extraordinary performance. And what they did is on April 23rd and then July 1st, officers responded to folks who had taken too much medication or had a medication overdose. They applied Narcan. And, I remember being on this board. Alex Grant was a big supporter of the police, having Narcan available to them. And so we have, 2 residents in town who are alive now because the police have Narcan. I think things were moving that direction, but it was nice that our town was thinking of moving that way early. And, we don't usually talk about past board members, but Alex Grant, was provided leadership on that, and hopefully he heard about these rescues. That was it.
Great. Yes, sir.
On following up on the police department's report, which it's nice to have heroes in town. I think that's fantastic. One of the things it mentioned in the report, and I think we might want to hear from the chief somewhere down the line. Talking about car break-ins, car thefts, which has been going on for this is not like happened last month only. This has been going on for a long period of time. The report indicates that we're not the only community. They're finding cars in Hartford, and I'd like some sort of update to know in terms of. I realize, particularly if it's interstate, the kind of coordination that could possibly happen between departments. But since this does appear to be much more than just a local ring targeting Long Meadow in terms of what, if anything, they can or are doing about this, because this, as I know, is a concern to all of us, and it seems to be picking up in speed, not slowing down. So I would like to hear, I think an update on this would be good in terms of what's going on an area-wide basis, if anything, from different departments.
Just to piggyback on that, and I don't want to victim blame, but everyone has to be very careful not to keep their keys in the car.
Right.
They're not hot wiring cars.
Mm-hmm.
They are hitting the button, seeing if the key's in the car, and then taking off. I'm as guilty of it.
Lock your doors, don't leave your key in your car.
And don't leave anything of value in it. They'll break your windows. I lived in a city for a long time. I learned how to do that. Sometimes in a small town, you got to do that too. But I do hope that we can do more to prevent that as well, of course.
All right, anything else? Okay. Okay. Meeting minutes, August 2nd, 2021.
I'll move we approve the minutes of the August 2nd, 2021 Select Board meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
I'll abstain.
Tom
One abstention.
abstains. 4-0-1. Okay. Draft letter to the ethics regarding the Hampden County Regional Retirement Board. Mr. Gold.
Thank you. There's been a group of officials from several towns in the area. There are 36 agencies who make up the Hampden County, whose retirees make up the Hampden County Regional Retirement Board. This group of officials have been meeting informally about 6 weeks now, trying to come up with a plan to effectuate change, and the group has come up with three directives that they're working on. The first one is efforts to direct or recover ill-spent funds and make the current management team accountable for those ill-spent funds, and I can go through those if anybody has any questions about it, but it's a lot of money. The second effort would be directed toward securing the resignation of the current board members, which we believe are continuing the practices that led to the problems that we saw through the 2014 to 2017 audit. And I'll remind people that that's the last audit we have was ended 2017, although it just came out this year. And the third area is to reform the organization, and that includes everything from modifying policies and procedures to getting a new board of directors elected. And so to that end, there's activities taking place in each one of those those three categories. And what you have before you is one of those areas, which is a letter to the Ethics Board indicating those things that were identified by the PURAC audit, which were shown to be against Massachusetts law or certainly unethical and violating the Massachusetts ethics rules. And so we're coming to Long Meadow Select Board tonight, and we have written a letter to the boards and the board members of each of those other 35 agencies, asking them to review the letter and to sign on to the letter either individually or collectively as a board. We've had some success with some of those boards who, as our meetings go, we meet by Zoom. Each meeting we invite different groups, and we've had an increase in the number of groups who have attended, the number of 8 organizations that have been represented. And so at this point, I'm asking you folks to look at this. I know our policy is we'd approve it at the next meeting, which is fine. If anybody sees fit to sign on to it individually, if the board doesn't want to do it collectively, that would be great, and we'll move forward. But I did want to let people know that there are those activities going on, and it's not just me, it's not just the town of Long Meadow. There's a good number of people in the region who believe that there were issues that need to be resolved. And if I could, Mark, just take another minute, I'll just explain. For example, payments for services not rendered, which shouldn't have been paid, $235,000. Bank service charges that were unethical, $87,300. Improper payments to Social Security, which is illegal, $4,800. Medical insurance payments to contract employees, $269,144. Undocumented attorney's fees, $179,000. There's also been funds that were spent that were deemed to be unreasonable and unethical, which have been returned. The payment by the board chair for renting his own Cape Cod condominium, $5,650, and entertainment paid for by an investment consultant of $10,936. Those funds have been returned because those were clearly illegal and were, I believe, subject to some potential change. So those are the kinds of things. Overall, it's a number, if you didn't do it in your head, it's about $780,000 for that period. I'll also let you know that we've been in contact continuously with PURAC, that's the pension investment board for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who did the audit. They have indicated that because of summer vacations, they have been unable to do a more recent audit, 2018 to present. They plan on starting that right after Labor Day. So we anticipate doing that. PURAC also has told us that they have weekly meetings with or conference calls with the Hampden County Retirement Board Executive Director and current board members, but they are not authorized to implement any changes to their policies or procedures, simply to point out to them things that they see that are not operating properly. And so we are not aware of any changes to the process or the operations of that organization that have changed, because right now, short of a ethics finding or the governor stepping in, nothing's going to happen. So I just want to bring anybody up to date. You're certainly welcome to take a couple hours every week and join our Zoom calls if you want to, or you can just let me do it and I'll be glad to report back.
Steve.
2 questions, Mark. One is, didn't we sign a letter asking for the board to resign?
We did.
Okay.
And what happened is one person did. She was the treasurer. The chair indicated that he would resign, but has not indicated when he would resign.
Right. And secondly, in terms of, I have no problem approving this letter tonight, as opposed to September 7th. But I mean, is there any, in your opinion, any urgency to do this sooner as opposed to later? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get this thing out as soon as possible. But if we approved it tonight, it'd be great. If we don't, that's okay too. I mean, the fact is, we'll get everybody's name on it.
Yep. I only know of this that I've read in the reminder, so I don't, in the dark.
Call me sometime, Josh. I'll show you the number.
So, a couple questions. One, what is in here is pretty outrageous, just small potatoes compared to what else you said. Why is it focusing on the reimbursements for the lodging and not the larger excesses?
The letters to the ethics board, and we're going after the ethics violations. The illegal actions are being handled through a different route.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
that's why we're trying to focus on, that's a violation of ethics, the ethics training we've all done or need to do.
Sure, okay. I think that covers my question was what else was happening?
A lot.
Yeah. But yeah, this is pretty outrageous. Okay.
I guess the other question would be, the individual who rented his own condominium in the Cape, has he come forward and said he did it, subsequent years? I mean, he just paid for the ones he got caught, but I wonder if there are other years. Has that come up in discussion?
It has not, Tom, because there's an upcoming audit that will audit those subsequent years.
Yeah.
We do know that there was a repayment for the ones that were identified in the audit, and there was a repayment for a couple of things that weren't identified in that audit, which happened subsequent, not necessarily for this, rental of your own house, but a couple other, what would be considered, I think, and I'm watching my words here, be considered unethical or illegal payments have been repaid. So there's been a bunch of money recouped, but nothing like the $800,000 just for that. Those couple. I mean, clearly it's illegal to put people on Social Security when they have a separate retirement system, pension system. I mean, a couple other things like that. I mean, they had an outside attorney who they hired, paid him per diem as an attorney, which they should, but they put him on the payroll system's medical benefits plan to the tune of $240,000. I mean, just so, but none of that's been refunded.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for your good work.
And the bottom line is, if you added $800,000 to the investment returns will look a whole lot better for our retirees.
Yeah, we think it has, we've actually done the work, Steve. It has a net present value of about $1.3 million. It probably would have reduced the assessment to every town from 8% down to 5 or 6%. So it has a marked and measurable financial impact on both Longmeadow and all the other towns, which are being assessed at 8% increase per year and would not need to have been. Right.
Anything else? So do we want to consider a motion tonight on this?
I'll make the motion to approve the letter.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Clean sweep, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, new business, block party requests. We got a request for a block party on East Greenwich and Normandy. Amy Andalonis, I'm sure I just butchered that.
No, you got it.
I got it, all right. Of 47 Normandy Road, submitted a block party application for a party to be held September 19th from 3 to 6.
I'll move we approve the block party request for Normandy Road, East Greenwich and Normandy on September 19th.
Second.
Discussion?
Yep. I'll second.
All in favor? Very good, thank you. Center School Street closure request. Center School PTO has submitted a street closure request for the Select Board office, or to the Select Board office. This pertains to a carnival to be held 4:30 to 7 on September 24th. They're requesting that the area right in front of Center School on Longmeadow Street, east of the Green, be closed for this time period.
I'll move we approve the street closing request from Center School PTO for Friday, September 24th, with a rain date of Friday, October 1st, from 3:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. as recommended and approved by the Chief of Police.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I just have a comment in terms of what was said earlier. I think these are swell ideas, no problem, but in terms of where we're still at, pandemic-wise, just in terms of, folks need to pay attention to what's going on, particularly, the center school stuff is little kids. These are the folks who are not going to be vaccinated no matter what. So I just, let's keep your eye on the ball. That's really my thought. That's all.
Yep, thanks for pointing that out.
The school's been very careful and cautious, and I know they will take this into consideration. They've been good.
Okay, last but not least.
We need to vote.
Need a vote?
Oh, we didn't vote? Threw me off. Do we have motions?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? 5-0. And now, last but not least, Select Board Liaison Assignments. So I'm just going to go through these quickly, or as quickly as I can. So if anything's blank, Josh, you're the first one up. And if any of the existing members want to swap out for one of your assignments, just holler.
So what does this entail, being the liaison?
So it's kind of a,
Whatever you make it.
yeah, it's kind of been, there's no written policy. I think the way at least the way that I've treated it is, and making sure that the committees or boards that we're assigned to know who we are, we have their information, and if they need to reach out to us, we make ourselves available. If you want to go to a meeting, God bless you. I don't know if all of them are going to want you there. But I think the best we can do is just be supportive of our committees to the extent that they need us to be. So Board of Assessors, if anybody wants it. Okay,
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Okay, Josh Levine. Audit Committee, Mark, you want to stay on the Audit Committee?
I didn't know I was on the audit committee, but I'll try to, sure.
Tom is the Board of Health Liaison. Are you okay with that, Tom?
Yeah, I'll continue.
Okay. And the Building Committee as well?
I think I should give that to someone who could attend more. I know
I've been
Mark
doing
brought
it
that
because
up.
I thought there was a vacancy. I'll be glad to do the
Okay.
building committee, so.
Thanks,
So,
Mark.
Building Committee is now going to be Mark Gold. The Building Demolition Committee is currently vacant.
All right, I can take that one.
Josh Levine. Mark Gold has Cable Advisory Committee. Are you okay with that, Mark?
Sure.
I have Capital Planning, Community Preservation, and Concom. Tom has the COA Board of Directors and the Cultural Council. I'm still good with those?
Yeah, I'll do a better job this year.
Steve has Energy and Sustainability. You're good with that, Steve? Mark has Finance and HCRB.
That's good. That's fine.
Historic District Commission and the Historical Commission.
Well, I guess that kind of fits in with the Building Demolition Committee.
Perfect.
So which one was that? The
That
Historic
was
District and
Historic District
District.
and Historical Commission.
Okay.
The Housing Authority. I can take the Housing Authority. Mass Municipal Association is also me. Tom has Mass Selectmen Association. I'm the liaison for Park and Rec. And the Planning Board. Did you want to take the Planning Board?
Oh, sure.
So Josh is going to take the Planning Board. PVTA is Mark. Recycling is Mark. Registrar of Voters is open.
Whatever that is, I can do that.
Okay, Steve Morantz. School Committee is also Steve Morantz. I'm the Senior Housing Task Force Liaison. The Scantic Valley Healthcare Trust is Tom.
Yeah, I don't know if someone would want to pick that up. I'd be open to that, but
If you can't, I don't need to do it all, but I'll be glad to pick that one up.
Okay.
okay.
All right, Mark's going to pick up Scannick Valley.
You'll get to see Paul Pasterzik. He's the treasurer.
Not for long, he's not.
Don't want to change your mind.
Tax Ceiling Task Force is also Mark. Tree Committee, I'll take Tree Committee.
Does somebody else want to take on the tax ceiling task force? If not, fine.
How often does that do, what does it do?
Well, last meeting, we decided we're going to meet. I'm trying to get them together to talk about strategy, so I'll invite you to the next one.
Yes,
How's
yes,
that,
yeah.
Steve?
Well,
Then you can-
yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll make that.
Do you want to do MG/SM?
Fine.
Sure.
And ZBA is me. So I think it's relatively evenly split. If anybody has any complaints, just let me know. And
I probably have fewer, but I think I might have missed one. So if anyone feels strongly about throwing me one, I think that should be fine.
Okay. Do we need a motion on this? No, okay. So I think we're good. Does anybody have any other questions or comments on the liaison assignments? All right, anything else? Any correspondence? How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in or watching after the fact. If you have any questions, as always, contact any of us. And if not, we'll see you in a couple weeks.